Hey everyone, D&D Detective here. So today I'm going to be talking about my favorite monsters from Kobold Press's Tome of Beast book. Despite the book being pretty well received in the community, it doesn't feel like it's gotten enough attention here on YouTube, at least when it comes to highlighting its most interesting creatures. So I thought I'd make this video to highlight my top 10 creatures from the book. Number 10, the Eonic Drifter. For those not aware of them, they are basically time-traveling collectors. They will collect all sorts of different types of gear from the various periods they travel to. I like the Eonic Drifter because it presents an opportunity for you to use time travel in a campaign. Time travel is a concept that can make plotlines feel really complicated, so I can see why it gets avoided. But for less serious campaigns, I think this is a great creature to introduce to the party. One simple use for this is to allow the party to have access to artifacts and magic items that perhaps they couldn't get in their time now. This could prove to be an important piece of a puzzle in a campaign, where an object can only be acquired by going back in time to retrieve it, something akin to Zelda Oracle of Ages. I would avoid using this in combat though, it's just going to make everyone's head hurt. Number 9, the Zaratan. A version of the Zaratan also exists in 5e in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. This one, however, is a bit more focused on just raw health and damage, while the Mordenkainen one is a lot more tactical. With an average of around 507 health, and a creature that is resistant against all weapon damage, including from magical weapons, this thing is a literal beast to have to deal with. It's not that surprising that they consider it to be a CR 26 creature, when the Mordenkainen one is only a CR 22 creature. The downside with it though is it's actually a really boring enemy to face. It's just kind of a lumbering giant that's particularly weak against anything involving a dexterity save. Still, when you reveal to your party that the island they are on is actually a giant turtle, it can make for a memorable moment. For what it's worth, I think it's still worth looking into as a creature featured in your campaign. Number 8, the Rat King. How can you say no to a mass of rats that gains sentience? You are bound to have a good time with this sort of creature in play, especially with this Rat King going more insane with each rat it adds to its mass. This makes it a perfect boss for a low-level dungeon or sewer crawl. As a CR5 monster, you could throw it up against a party of level 3 and 4 as a final fight. What's even great is that it can heal itself off the rats near it, so you can have the situation where the party thinks it's near death, but thanks to a few well-targeted strikes against its own rat allies, the Rat King is able to regain a large amount of its own health. With 4 attacks available to it each round, it can easily afford to spend one of these, killing one of its own rats, in order to restore its lost health. It's also resistant against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing weapons, even if they're from a magic weapon. It has a bunch of different conditional immunities as well, so by no means is it going to be an easy fight. DMs using it should also note that it has a 20-foot burrow speed. The king is likely to want to scatter if it gets too low in health, and tunneling downward is always an option for it. Number 7, the Oozasis. This is a creature that really benefits from being more in a survival campaign, especially one in the desert, but it could also really work anywhere. For instance, in a sea campaign. What's great about it is that you can throw this at your party, and they can't really counter its illusion abilities. Even if they are aware what they are seeing is an illusion, they still are subject to the conditions of the Mirage, which is the equivalent of the Mirage Arcane spell. This includes creating difficult terrain for the party. Its pseudopods can also quickly devastate 2 party members if they get too close. A party unlikely enough to fall victim to this creature may find themselves being forced to carry out a quest on its behalf. What that would be, I don't know. The creature may be the mind of a dead wizard who is simply reaching out in the hopes of ending this state and moving on, with a quest being given for it to do just that. Number 6, the Ghoul Emperor. Honestly, in terms of tone, the Ghoul Emperor just feels very vampiric. He is this civilized, intelligent, corporeal, undead creature after all. But at the end of the day, he isn't. Mechanically, he's this wicked spellcaster that can dish out a ton of damage. He's got a lot of different spells to work with too, with Power Word Kill being of course one of his deadliest. His lair actions can make him a challenging foe as well. With the ability to cut off the party from each other, even temporarily, he can wreak havoc on even the most organized of parties. His limited burrow speed gives him another interesting edge over similar undead. 15 feet isn't anything impressive, but it's something that sets him apart from other creatures. It could be easy for him to use this to his advantage, forcing a party to fight him in confined pathways where spells like Cloud Kill can prove far more useful. Finally, his claw attack provides him with a solid chance to paralyze his target. If he does this successfully, this can be deadly, since it will mean any attacks he makes against the target before the end of that target's turn are a critical hit. A lucky claw attack from him could prove quickly devastating to targets that don't have a lot of health. Number 5. The Edimmu. There's something about this monster I just like. Maybe it's because it's got this great desert undead theme. Maybe it's because it's something that your party can really struggle to kill. It can haunt them until they figure out how to kill it. In this way, it's similar to a lich, though much less powerful. It's also a creature that allows you for a great backstory and moral problems. Maybe this creature was a criminal in life, but maybe its crime was killing a corrupt noble, in a political system that defends the corrupt and exploits the weak. It's really up to you as a DM how you want to portray this creature. You could play it as this evil, chaotic being, or you could go beyond that and build a character that the party can relate with. Even if it can't speak, that doesn't mean a story can't be told about it. As a reasonably intelligent creature, it may even formulate its own plans for revenge against the party or people who have wronged it. Ultimately, with a ton of different damage resistances, a few immunities, and the ability to reappear after 2d4 days if the party doesn't figure out how to kill it, this can make for a really memorable encounter for the group. Number 4. The Hoard Golem. Just when a party thinks they have secured a treasure, out comes this badass monster. Like honestly, doesn't this just ooze fun? A dragon using an illusion on his own treasure is of course a classic trope, but imagine one that just enchants it and turns it into a construct. What's worse for the party is if they get caught up in the cyclone they can create, they may actually lose some of their items, including their magic items, to the Hoard itself. More specifically, it will actually take their most valuable item, which may be subject to some debate given 5e's reluctance to actually give magic items specific values. Number 3. The Myling. I'll be honest, these creep me the heck out. What makes these creatures so great is that you can set the atmosphere of a place merely with one encounter against them. Their origins are mysterious and dripping in tragedy. They don't have to be a young child either. Young adults would do nicely as well. Their buried alive feature, in particular, is going to make for a pretty memorable encounter. But the great thing about them is that you don't even need to enter combat for them to really create a memorable encounter. In fact, if it weren't for the buried alive feature, they would probably have been a fairly boring combat encounter. Ultimately, they are a creature that is very easy for you to slip into any campaign. Whether you're in a rural or urban area, they can easily be encountered either way. Number 2. The Grim Jester. The Grim Jester is probably one of the most unique monsters I've seen in 5e, because it has no actual claws or weapons. Instead it kills you with laughter. Deadly laughter. In fact, failing a wisdom saving throw against its 60-foot radius ability will cause any creatures to fall prone and become incapacitated for 1d4 rounds. Every creature in the radius, then, has to make a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of the turns that they are incapacitated. If they fail, they are reduced to 0 hit points. Now they are going to be making death saves, which are made at a disadvantage when within 60 feet of the Jester. If that didn't suck enough, trying to heal a party member can quickly backfire, because the Jester's ability will change that healing into damage. Plus I can cast nasty spells like Finger of Death and Delayed Blast Fireball. It also gets helpful illusion spells like Disguise Self, Mislead, and Seeming. More than this though, it's actually just an interesting villain. It seemingly can't die, and will return next to its master upon its death. Yet that might give it somewhat of a tormented existence, because this is not a creature that chose on death for itself. Instead it's simply a bard that on its deathbed moves the death god to laughter. Number 1. the Death Butterfly Swarm. Honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with this monster. Imagine your party walking among a forest and they come across these beautiful butterflies, only to find out that they are actually these deadly creatures that can very quickly leave your party blind and poisoned. These creatures are just a great way to throw off your party and throw what is really a fun encounter at them. They are also nice because with their lowest form being CR4, they can make for a deadly encounter for a level 2 party. They can also make a tough encounter for many higher level parties as well. They also get dark vision too, allowing them to operate at nighttime. Alright, that's it for the video. If you liked what you saw here, be sure to like and subscribe. If you had your own thoughts about the best monsters in this book, or have ideas on what kinds of videos you'd like to see here on the channel, be sure to leave a comment. Thanks for watching.